M. Nyman, what's up? I think it's been 3 years or 4 years since we last did this. How's it going?
It's great. Yeah, I was trying to say to my fiance, I was like, I'm pretty sure I was on his show, but it had to have been like 4 years ago or so at least.
Yeah, so I went back on YouTube, like just before we started doing this, because I was trying to remember how long ago it was. I was thinking at least 2 or 3 years ago for sure. And the YouTube clip that I put up at the time, like we all know how much you like A Rod, right? It was something like M talks about her love for A Rod, but not as a broadcaster. Oh yeah, I remember this whole thing now. But yeah, that was 2021.
I still feel the same way about A-Rod. I don't love his broadcasting or really his opinions much on the game, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a while in general since we've done this. And yeah, A-Rod, that's right, he's doing Fox now, obviously. I think he's probably better pre-post or pre-game stuff anyway versus doing in-game analysis. And that's what you were saying at the time anyway. You were like, he doesn't have to say so much shit. Let Matt Vasgersian at the time talk. A-Rod doesn't have to always be saying something to fill time.
Yeah, that is pretty much his problem. So he is great in the short form, the 30 to an hour pregame, postgame with Poppy and even Derek Jeter, who I think could stand to loosen up a little bit, but I guess that dynamic kind of plays well. So I don't often want to hand it to Fox, but in that case I will. Their pre and post game is pretty good.
Actually, it's funny you say that about Jeter because, yeah, you like you said, he could probably get a little bit more loose, but I think he's already started to at least show a little personality, at least since he retired. Obviously, we know how he operated as a player and calculated in terms of how he dealt with the media and stuff. But it is funny now that you look back and it's Jeter and A-Rod and even Poppy together, kind of like bros, even though I don't know. Jeter was probably more of a bro with Poppy when they were playing than he ever was with A-Rod, at least, since the Yankee days, but it is kind of funny how the three of them are like the three amigos on Fox.
It is. I do like it because, and part of me, I didn't blame Jeter because
Yeah, for
he and
sure.
A-Rod are really good friends. And then A-Rod made those stupid comments in whatever that article was that he basically was amounting to Jeter is overrated. And I don't know why he says half the things that he says. And I think that he's kind of come face to face with that often in his career. So I'm glad to see that Jeter and him, I guess, gotten past that. They may not have been as close, may not be as close as they used to be, but it is an interesting dynamic with the three of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and no, yeah, I don't blame Jeter at all. And as you know, I think I'm a huge Jeter guy, so I'm always going to support him and back him up. What do you think about the storied Yankees these days? What is the thought that comes to mind?
You know, I, because I didn't grow up in a family that, it's not like my dad is a Yankee fan and my grandfather. Like, we're Navy fans. My dad went to Naval Academy. So, like, that's the only, like, Navy football is like the only sport that we really sat down and watched. So, I became a Yankee fan in the, late 90s when I was 11, 12 years old when they were winning like crazy. But I don't really have any real memories of that version of the Yankees. So, I don't buy into like, oh, the storied Yankees. It doesn't do that much for me, the history. And I'm not saying that the history isn't important. It's what makes the Yankees the Yankees. But for me personally, as a fan, I try to take every year just as it comes. And I try to put it in perspective with the rest of the league. Now, it kind of sucks as a fan. You want your team to be the runaway juggernaut. Everyone wants that, right? But it is kind of nice overall as a baseball fan for the league that there is no team. And not even in the National League. I'm preseason, we were hearing about how horrible the American League is and the National League. That's where all the competition is. But there's no team in that league that's really playing to what they could on paper. The Dodgers, the Padres, the Mets, all of those teams are having massive problems and massive losing streaks throughout the season. So it really is good for the sport in terms of there being more parity than I feel like there has been in quite some time. And it really does feel like anyone can win. So as frustrating as it is day to day, and the Yankees, they're playing sloppy, and I try not to get too in the weeds with that. I try not, I don't, I guess you can blame the management, you can blame the attitude, but I really don't know if it's as simple as that. Like, do I think that there's no consequences for them losing? Of course there are. They lose. These guys want to win. They get to this level by having that competitive fire. So I don't buy into, oh, Boone doesn't, dress them down when they make a mistake and that's why they're making them. It's like, no, it's not as easy as that.
Right.
It's just not.
There have been so many, like you were just saying, basically so many streaky, flawed teams this year, but really good teams. Maybe not like the Dodgers aren't, I mean, they're really good. Maybe they're not even historically great like we may have thought going into the season, but they're still a great team that might win it all, or at least they're going to be right in the conversation. It seems like every great team this season, or really good team, however you want to kind of label them, every single one of these teams, Detroit, the Cubs, the Yankees, Toronto, whoever, have all had these massive, it seems like either losing streaks or these long slumps. If you were in charge of the team, would you keep Boone, or has your opinion on Boone, I guess, changed as a manager since he started, 2018?
That's a good question, and one that's kind of tough to answer because I don't really form many opinions when it comes to the managers. Um, I guess you can question some his bullpen usage, but beyond that, I guess I'm more of a I like the consistency in the Yankees organization. I know people, they want to get rid of Cashman, they want to get rid of Boone, but I think that there's a lot to be said, especially in a sport like this where it can be really hard to stay focused and stay consistent. That I think trying to shake things up, so to speak, doesn't always result in what you want it to. Like, I don't think firing anybody, especially in the middle of the year, is suddenly going to change anything, because I also don't think that the Yankees are necessarily playing far below their capability. Like, obviously, can they clean it up a little bit? Yeah, sure. But they still, I was shocked to learn, Mike Petriello posted I forget which stat it was, but they were actually one of the better defensive teams in the whole league. So it's hard. We watch them in a vacuum, kind of, because we're just watching this one team. I mean, you like the Cubs too, but
Yeah.
just watching this one team 162 games and only kind of taking in a smattering of other teams and their games, you assume that every other team is doing things better than your team, especially when your team is doing something lousy. But I think that they're playing to their talent level. Their pitching is going to go through ups and downs. Um, it's a long season, and it's not for the faint-hearted, and it's not always pretty. The road to the postseason is not always pretty, and it doesn't have to be. The important thing is just getting there. And I think that for all the Yankees' flaws, they have way less flaws than most of the teams in this league, barring maybe one or
Yeah.
two. So I think that it's frustrating as a fan. You want them to win. You want Judge to get his ring. You even want Boone to get his ring if he's going to be at the helm. So it's just it can be frustrating that, hey, you just have to be that team in the postseason. Now, I don't think it's Aaron Boone's fault that Judge has not been Judge in October, because
Yeah.
he's who holds the keys. And I love Judge more than probably most people. He's my favorite player. But I'm also not blind to the fact that if Judge goes, they win a World Series. The difference in all of these seasons has been Judge not being Judge in October, because if he shows up in October, they win, I think, relatively easily. Last year, they win that World Series if Judge is Judge in October. So I think that's really what it boils down to. And is that because Boone is the manager? No, it's not. It's an Aaron Judge thing. And this is the pros. This isn't high school. This isn't Little League. So he's got to get his mind right, just like the players do too. I don't think it's Boone who sets the stage for them. I think that they're the ones who have to be focused and have to go out there and do a job, because Boone can't play for them. All he
Yeah.
can do is sit in front of the camera and take the lumps from the press. And he does that better than most managers, I'd say. And that's really what his job is.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. He does handle the media really well. Obviously, he defends his players really well, which is, what they were looking for essentially when they let Girardi, let the contract run out and he was gone. And did you like Girardi when he was the manager, or did you not really jive with Joe Girardi?
Uh, I'm like such a players fan that I don't like, and I don't think there's any real value in the managers sort of throwing players under the bus to the media. I think that is pure fan service. I don't think it necessarily makes the players play any better, because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak. So whatever it is that they're calling the player out, no player wants to make an error. They don't want to go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. They don't want to make mistakes on the bases. So the idea that, like, calling this player out in the post game is going to change that. Like, no, it's not. If anything, it's just going to make this player feel a type of way, feel embarrassed, feel like his manager that's in the clubhouse and traveling with them every day. They spend half their life with these guys, doesn't have their back, and is choosing to throw chum in the water for fans, because that's what the fans, right? We like to see blood. They want to see the manager call this guy out because it makes them feel validated that they're frustrated.
especially in
But
the
I
moment.
Right, exactly. So then when Boone doesn't give them anything and Judge doesn't give them anything, just they go to the Derek Jeter school of handling the media, right? And it actually works better. It can be frustrating for super fans, but look what happened the other day. I mean, with Boone saying that he didn't think Judge was going to come back throwing, and Judge says, I don't know why he said that. That is like the one time in
Yeah.
the last 10 years that something like that has happened, and it's embarrassing, and it becomes a headline, and it's like, oh, is everything not good? Are they not talking? So it's like, look at what happened with that little moment. So I think Girardi was fine. He was at the helm when they won their last title, so he'll always have a place in my heart. He obviously has his place in Yankee history too as a player. So I didn't have any problem with. My thing is with the managers that I don't. You could put anyone in there, not to be like a Michael K parroting, but he's kind of right that, like, does it really matter? Girardi, Boone, like, the players have to play. So yeah, Girardi was fine. I mean,
Yeah.
he obviously didn't do a good job in Philly, because when they got rid of him, they turned it around and made it to the World Series.
That is
So
true.
you take that for what it's worth. But Girardi was fine. I think that he's just a net zero at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. I like Girardi as well.
Great
Yeah, you're
commentator.
Oh yeah, especially
Fantastic.
yeah, he was in the Tampa series, and I don't know, he's been doing some games pretty recently. He was doing Cubs games on Marquee a little bit last year as well. I guess he's just doing yes right now, but or Yankee games in general. But I think you've said a lot of like I go back and forth in my mind with it. Like you said, I get that calling people out, calling players out is not necessarily the I guess the grand elixir that fans think it's going to do. It's not really going to solve anything. It just sounds good to be like finally accountability. I do think um Boone probably at least sometimes or whoever leadership in the clubhouse, I'm sure they get in people's faces and do stuff behind closed doors. Maybe it's not every single day because you can't really do it every day and expect that to after a while you're just going to lose players in that sense. But I'm sure that the stuff that we want to hear and or at least what fans want to hear from Boone and players when they're talking to the media, some of that probably is happening behind closed doors. We just don't hear about it.
Of
But
course.
what about Jazz? What do you think about Jazz these days, or in general, since they've gotten him? I think obviously you see his, baseball IQ when it's going really well. Certain plays, like there was a play, I can't remember what game it was now, but it was recently when I think he like beat a tag and got back around to be safe on the bases or whatever. And then he'll have like a blunder and then he'll kind of double down after the game. But like, what do you actually? I've seen your Jazz tweets, obviously, on Twitter, and I'll have like the Simpsons.
Jazz man.
Yep, that's it. Or like the I love Jazz and the doctors stitching it. But in general, what do you think about guys like Jazz Chisholm and just
I like Jazz a lot. I think he brings a lot of childlike joy to the Yankees, which they sorely need. Um, and I think that he just plays to the back of his baseball card, as most guys do. But when you watch every single day, it's not as even as the end of the year stats make it seem, right? Like, oh, they were, a 275 hitter. They got a hit that averages out to, one hit every four at bats, but it doesn't look like that when it's happening, right? They'll go stretches of games where they will be world beaters, and then they'll go through stretches of games where they can't buy a hit and they're airmailing the ball over first base. So I think that Jazz is good. I think that he's one of the better second basemen in the league. I think that he was a good replacement. They didn't, in terms of how good Glaber was and is this year, and he was better than he played last year, though he got more comfortable when he got that leadoff position. Then he started to become Glaber that we knew. I think that they didn't downgrade at second base, and there's not that many good second basemen in the league. It's not really a position that there's much focus on. So when you get a guy that has a little bit of pop in that position, it's a win-win. So I think that Jazz is a great second baseman, and I think that he's young. Maybe he could stand to focus a little bit more, but who am I to say? He's the one who's gotten to this point and has a spot on a major league roster and has since he came into the league. So far be it from me to act like I know what his mentality should be or what he should work on, because also there is a lot of these guys are who they are, and they're not perfect. We have it's the gift and the curse of Judge is that Judge is so unbelievably good that he makes everyone else, even in his own lineup, look terrible, because you have Judge and then you have Jazz like hitting after Judge, and it's like, all right, well, this guy can't buy a hit half the time. And it's like, well, Judge hits, like, he's one of the best hitters of all time. So it's hard having that comparison in the lineup. But I think Jazz is fine. I think that he's a good second baseman. He'll be a great third baseman someday. I'm sure that's in his future. And I don't know. I just, who else is better out there at second base,
Yeah.
really?
Talking about just in general, kind of what we've already talked about with like Boone and the way the fans want certain things to happen. We're watching every single game, and we, I think every fan can kind of push away or go outside and forget about it for 5 minutes and then get back into watching games. But we always want to scrutinize every little thing. But yeah, even on the Cubs side, I mean, people are, well, not everybody, like a small. It feels like everybody when you're on Twitter and you see everybody's
Yeah.
opinion, but it's really like the minuscule 1% probably of people in general. But
You have to remind yourself, this is not real life. Like, I need to put this phone down and literally go touch grass
yeah,
and talk
right.
to other fans.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's already people that were like, "Oh, Cubs got to fire, Craig Counsell, Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker's horrible." I mean, like you said, talking about Jazz, we can think what we want, especially in the moment. And even I've been like,
Right.
but then I started, then I'm watching games consistently. I'm like, I see what Jazz is doing. Like, I see the good that he brings to it. And then, yeah, there's a blunder or whatever. But I guess Jazz, and me and my friend have talked about this too. I think Jazz is good about he's just kind of like he can just take whatever the media throws at him. He's just gonna say what he's gonna say, and it doesn't stick to him. I mean, he's gonna go out there and do, for better or for worse, he's gonna do his thing, and he's gonna back it up, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that um, there is a lot to be said for, it takes, and it's not to say that it doesn't take mental toughness to, say, play for a team like the Sacramento A's or another, the Pittsburgh Pirates. It takes a different type of mental toughness, like, no matter what team you're on. But there is a lot to be said for guys playing in New York, and it's not about the pinstripes and the ghosts of Yankee Stadium. It's just about, there is few markets in the world that are as intense about their sports as a New York sports market. So there's a lot of scrutiny. I mean, there's a million beat writers for these teams, where other teams, they'll have like two beat writers for two papers or whatever. There's their locker room at the end of a game in the middle of June is filled with reporters, and they are wanting to know about every single play, good or bad. And I think that it takes a certain kind of player to be able to deal with that. And I agree that I think Jazz is pretty good at it. That, sure, the blunders suck, and that's not to say that fans shouldn't be frustrated. I get frustrated watching him, that play, what was it, 2 nights ago or last night, where he airmailed that throw on a double play when Heel was pitching. And it's like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, yeah, it's because this game is really hard, and that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. So I think that Jazz does have a certain level of mental toughness that he's had to put up with a lot in his career. A lot of things said about him that weren't necessarily true, and that should not be discounted.
I'm sure even the 96 to 2001, or even if you want to go to like '04 Yankees, I'm sure they had their string of, it doesn't feel like it, especially with all these years later, but I know those guys and those teams also had, I know the '98 Yankees started out 1-4 before they basically won every game after that. I mean, even those great teams struggled, but
The 2000 team, they didn't win
oh
80. They won 89 games. They were like a wild card team or something like that.
yeah, I mean they struggled in September. They were on a horrible slump, and then they obviously got the job done. Okay, so talking World Series, so you were there at one of the games last season or last year, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Which game was it? Was it
It was game 3. It was their first home game.
That's right.
It was awesome. I mean, it sucked that they lost. It was not fun that Freddie Freeman hit another home run that game. The Yankees offense didn't do anything. I think Verdugo had a homer in like the 9th inning, but it was like, Verdugo with a huge homer to cut the lead to down to 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We pulled the trigger because, fortunately, a good friend of ours that I met through Twitter, he is a full season ticket holder for like over 20 years. So he has a ticket rep, and we were able to get tickets we didn't have to pay $1,500 a ticket. Let me put it that way. And I said to my fiance, like, when we were talking about should we do it, we were like, yeah, because it took even the Yankees, the team that is always in it and they're always fighting for the playoffs, it took them 15 years to get back to the World Series. So what, we don't go, and then what? They may not make it to the World Series for another 15 years, even longer. Who knows? So, it was awesome. It would have been better if we saw them win. Of course, the next night, that's when they scored like 12 runs or whatever. Judge hit his homer. Like, they went off. Volpe hit his grand slam. Like, it would have been obviously more fun to be at that game, but it was just, the vibes were immaculate. We got there early. It was just so exciting seeing World Series on the field and on the screen and seeing all the press on the sidelines. Like, just, it was really, really exciting. And it was such an awesome thing to be a part of. And I just am really glad that I can say that I got to watch my team play a game live in the World Series, because there are a lot of fans that will never, ever get that chance. And there is not much hope for their future either. So,
Yeah.
I try not to take it for granted. And even though I wish they won, but hey, it's still an experience that I think is really special.
Oh yeah, was that your first like playoff game or first World Series game that you saw in person?
It was my first World Series game. We went to ALCS in 2022. We went to an ALCS game last year also.
Nice.
We went to the game where Judge hit his first homer of the ALCS at home. They won that game, thankfully. We were starting to feel like, are we jinxes? Because we feel like every time we go, they lose,
Yeah.
and especially in the postseason. So then when they won that game, I was like, yes, vindicated. We can go to the World Series now.
I think I probably remember those tweets. I'm sure you had tweets back about that stuff back then. I probably remember those.
Oh, for sure. Especially the 2022 one we went, it was awesome. We were in a suite. So like, if they were going to lose 5-0 to the Astros that game, it was the best scenario otherwise, besides what was happening on the field. Like, we were in a suite, beautiful view. But yeah, I was tweeting my ass off that night because they did not hit anything, except for Big G, of course. Had an amazing double, but it didn't amount to anything.
So yeah, talking about Big G, I mean, you're starting to hear his name kind of come up. Like, if he gets a 500 home runs, Hall of Fame. Like, that would be awesome, because it didn't seem like that was necessarily going to be the case, as far as, we know the health and injuries and all that stuff. And there's two guys in my mind besides Stanton. It's Stanton, but then I'm like, man, if Kyle Schwarber can get the 500 home runs, how awesome would that be? Because he's a freaking beast. And it's just insane the kind of run that he's been on, not just this year, but just since the Cubs, unceremoniously let him go, essentially. And I think that kind of helped him become the player that he is now, because he's perfect in Philly and had a weird stint as a national and a Red Sox. But I mean, Schwarber's got, you would think at least a good, whatever, 4 or 5, hopefully, seasons left. He's like in his early 30s, and Stanton is, mid 30s or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy if he was able to get to 500. That's still a magic number, at least in my mind. I think in most people's minds.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, even if they fall slightly short, the era has to come into play, where if these guys fall short, I don't know if you'll ever see a 500 home run guy again, because of how difficult it is now. And I'm not saying that it was easy necessarily, 30, 40 years ago. Everything's relative to its time period. But if the most prolific hitters of a generation can't get into the Hall of Fame, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, holding players to standards that it's a lot harder to get in, especially with all of the business aspect of the sport coming into play now more than ever. Guys are not being called up maybe as early as they could be. And it's because the teams are trying to manipulate their service time so they don't have to pay them as much. So that kind of stuff has to be taken into account. It's so rare now for guys like Big G, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Machado, these guys who are called up when they're 19, 20 years old. That like almost doesn't really happen anymore. So if you don't have guys that are going to put in 15-year careers, you're never going to see anyone match any of these totals. The 3,000 strikeouts, 500 homers, it's just not going to happen, because they're not being given the opportunity to do so, because they have to start so young in order to accrue all of that they need to on a year-to-year basis, especially because the longer you're in the league, you start to, deteriorate faster. Everything's harder, faster, stronger. So I think that even if Schwarber, even if Big G, if they have over 450 homers, in my opinion, that should get them in, because they are the guys of this generation. They are the home run hitters. And does that matter for anything anymore? Or is it just, you have to get to this number? Because then why even bother voting? Just have the guys that make it to these arbitrary numbers be the ones that get in. But that's not how it is. They have humans vote on it because there's more to it than just these counting stats. And I think that that should be taken into account. The fact that they are the most prolific hitters of their generation. Same thing with Judge. May not get to 500 homers because he's already 33. But he's still one of the best right-handed hitters of all time, if not the best right-handed hitter of all time. So because he doesn't get to 500 homers, does that mean that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame? You know?
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know.
So kind of talking about the numbers, like you said, we may not have another 500 home run hitter again, or at least maybe after potentially Schwarber or at least Stanton, who's almost, he's relatively close as far as the numbers go. And it kind of reminds me like CC Sabathia, Hall of Famer, big CC fan, of course. I know you, I'm sure, are a huge CC fan. Like, I think he was the one that said, as he was going to the Hall of Fame, he was like, I don't want to be the last, something like 3,000 strikeout pitcher or something like that. Or even like guys like Verlander, who probably won't get to 300. We probably won't see a 300 game winner again with the way baseball has changed, the starting pitching and everything, the evolution of the game and stuff. How do you like baseball today versus even, say, a decade ago? We've seen so much change. As much as the game stays the same, it changes so much. And we can get to the rules and stuff, but like as far as even just philosophy, and like I remember when when the Kansas City Royals were a really good team for 2 years, they went to the World Series twice and won one. They had a great bullpen, and then the Yankees had a really good bullpen, and teams were starting to, the Cleveland now Guardians in 16 had Corey Kluber, and just trying to utilize him as in any way they could. How do you like the game now versus maybe, like I said, 10 years ago, as far as just the way it's playing, I guess, now?
I don't mind it. I like, I spent half my life playing softball. So I am really into just the adjustments that these guys have to make. And, they push each other. The players are the ones that are enacting change. In this sport, it's odd because the defense controls the ball, where that doesn't happen in any other of the big sports or any other sport really, except for, I guess, cricket. Um, and that means that the pitching is what forces the offense and their approaches and their strategies to evolve. They have no choice because the batter is defending home plate when you think about the dynamic. And they just have to hit the ball where it's pitched. And that is really hard because the pitches have life at this level. At the jump from AAA to the majors and pitching alone is just like night and day. There's no comparison. And it's all about the natural abilities that these guys are born with to just have life on their pitches that come out of their hand. So I think that it's really impressive what the players are able to do. I know it may not be as aesthetically pleasing as some people want it to be. And hey, maybe it's not great for the sport that you have to be someone who is a super fan to maybe enjoy it. If you're just trying to put a ball game on and see a few slap hits here or there, you may not see that as much. But it's not necessarily by choice. And I think that that's kind of the problem, is that people are assuming that these guys are going up there and they are just trying to hit nothing but home runs. And that's all. It's like, that's not really what they're trying to do. They're just trying to hit the ball as hard as they can, put it in the air, because any other approach is not yielding the results that teams want. That's why they're doing the approach that they are, because, hey, this style of play that we're trying to do, trying to string singles together and just trying to get balls, trying to hope that the team makes a mistake, or trying to get, a seeing eye single. It's like that kind of play just doesn't work. And certainly not in October, where you're facing the best pitching staffs in the league. When you have a guy that's coming in the seventh inning and he's throwing a 101 mile per hour sinker, like, how can you possibly compete with that? What is the hitter supposed to do? You think that they're going to be able to get 4 singles in a row, hope for an error? Like, you can't. The offense can only do so much. They can only take control of so much because they are in a position of having to react to a pitch in order to score runs. So I think when you consider that, what they're able to do is remarkable. The fact that they're able to hit the ball at all at this point in time, I think, is incredible. And things have helped. The pitch clock has helped a little bit. I was not crazy about it. I would be okay if they got rid of it, but it hasn't really. I think it's done more help than good in terms of keeping the game moving, because you can't have not a lot of hits and not a lot of runs and also have a minute, 2, 3 minutes between pitches. So I think it makes sense. And I don't mind the style of play. I don't need the eyewash. I'm a fan that, and I'm not saying that that's how everyone should be, but for me personally, I don't need eyewash of just a few slap singles that don't amount to anything that end up just being a double play, a hit later. So and as they say, chicks dig the long ball. So
Yeah.
the idea of getting away from a style of play where they're trying to hit less home runs, no. This sport, that's like, no one says that, football should focus more on field goals and less on scoring touchdowns. No one says that. So why do we act like that's what teams should do now? You know what I mean? I know it's not a one-to-one comparison, but it just seems ridiculous. This is what sits people in the seats. It's the most exciting thing in sports is like a walk-off homer or home run. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get the whole, home run hitting is not fun sort of thing. I don't get it.
Oh, you know how they say home runs kill rallies. You got to get just out. No, I mean, of course, home runs are fantastic. It's like I don't necessarily agree with the like home runs kill rallies. Obviously, like
Right.
you want runs as much as you can get them.
Yeah, exactly. What's the point of the game? Is it to
Yeah,
score runs or is it to get hits that look pretty to you?
right. Like I can understand in a sense, like okay, sure, if you can get like 3 or 4 hits in a row, that's awesome. But there's a chance that you're going to get a double play, or you're not going to get all get the runs that you can get them. If any way you can get them, just get them in.
Right.
But no, I agree. Yeah, like you said. Okay, I was going to ask you specifically, like if I were to go back to 2000 and let's just say 16, right? We don't have a pitch clock. We don't have the 3 batter minimum for relief pitchers. We don't have no the man on second can die. Get that
Oh
rule
yeah,
out of
that's
here.
horrible. It's
But
horrible.
at least the playoffs don't have that. If it were up to me, I might say, yeah, I'm fine. Like I was fine with baseball, like you said, without the pitch clock and without the 3 batter minimum. But I'm like, okay, I'm fine with the pitch clock. I don't like. I never cared if games were 4.5 hours. Yeah, I get it. If I'm watching a game on Sunday night and I'm trying to go to bed for the next day, sure, it's a long game. I get it, but I don't necessarily hate the pitch clock. I kind of don't mind, like you were just saying, eliminating a little bit of the excess that we don't really need, and we're not changing the game in that sense. That's fine. And even the 3 batter minimum, like I never cared if the manager wants to burn through his bullpen any way he wants to, let him do it. But I kind of don't even think about that rule anymore. Like it's there, and I don't
Right.
really think about it. But yeah, I mean, and then even like, okay, what about the shift? Like, did you care about the shift, or did you want baseball to kind of put a rule in place, or let teams try to figure out how to beat it themselves?
I don't mind because I honestly don't even remember that
Right.
it's there.
Yeah.
So I think that probably says a lot about it. That I noticed it a lot when they were shifting, and as a fan of a team that had Joey Gallo on the roster in 2021, I can tell you that it was very frustrating
Yeah.
that they could just plant an outfielder. And at the time, I was of the let them play wherever they want, the
Yeah.
defense.
Same.
That's
Yeah.
something about baseball that's kind of awesome that
Yeah.
you could literally play anywhere on the field and it doesn't matter. But since I don't even notice the shift rule, I think that is probably good. And also, I'm aware that these rules aren't for me. They're not for you. They already have us hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
They have us no matter what sort of version of the game they put out there. So obviously, these rules aren't for us. They're for casual fans who keep the lights on in the league. So if it's going to keep someone's attention longer on a game because it doesn't take 3 minutes in between pitches and you're not seeing what should be a single in right field actually find a glove because they have someone playing in no man's land, like then that's fine with me. So I think that the purists, you kind of have to give and take. You can't get mad at the rules of the shift but also then get mad that there's not enough singles. It's like, this is the
Yeah.
sort of thing. The offense needs help in today's league because the defense, the pitching is so dominant and it's getting more and more dominant as time goes on. They're not going to pull back on that as athletes get bigger and stronger and there's more money at stake. So I think that these rules, baseball has done actually kind of a good job at implementing rules that kind of fit in the game. They don't seem too outlandish. It doesn't seem jarring that you're used to it, with the exception, of course, of the ghost runner. But I understand in a practical sense why they do that during the season. Doesn't mean I have to like it.
Right, exactly. Well, you had a tweet the other day about essentially, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly, and I had a joking comment of course, but I just remember it was something like, "Do people get mad about their like other sports as much as it seems like with baseball?" And I'm just like, of course I'm mad about everything, but no, I actually yeah, it's funny because with baseball, like I'm not really like, I mean we're about the same age. I am not really old man yelling at cloud about baseball. I kind of do like the I guess purist aspect of it. But then again, like I don't have any problem with interleague. I know people hated interleague and DH back in the 70s and stuff, but I guess it's kind of like I'm kind of like me and the same friend I was just talking about before. We were texting last night, and he brought up the realignment idea. Do you like the realignment idea if they were to make those changes and have the Yankees and Mets in the same division?
Yeah, I would love that. Are you kidding me? I mean, it would ruin families for sure. It would cause a lot of strife on this side of the continent. But yeah, I mean, I don't I don't care about that shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
if they want to realign it, sure. If they want to keep it how it is and have this balanced schedule, why not? Like,
right.
it doesn't matter to me. Like, I just want to watch baseball,
Yeah.
and I want to just be able to do that. And if as long as I could, that's my biggest thing is just how prohibitive watching the sport
Hmm.
seems to be.
Yeah,
Like that's where I take the biggest issue with, honestly, is the blackouts
yeah,
and now all the streaming services and having to pay so much money to watch the sport. I think that is more important than any of these rule changes or realignments, to be honest. But no, so all that to say, no. I think a division with the Yankees, Mets, Boston, Philly, that would be sick, okay?
yeah,
Like it would
yeah.
really be a lot of fun because I hate those teams. So I would
Right.
love to play more teams that I like viscerally hate.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like I can sit there and be like, I could just leave it as is. But then
Right,
if they make the change, though, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna not watch the game. Like
right,
even if for a second I thought to myself, man, on second, I'm not gonna watch, but I'm still watching the games. I'm not, and it's kind of nice as a fan if your team is the one that has the runner on second. It's kind of like, okay, I hate the rule, but I kind of like it in this instance. But then it's
right,
like, no, I still would get rid of it. So, but yeah, going back to that tweet that you had. I don't care like when the NFL and the NHL make rule changes. In fact, I love the NHL changes that they made when they had the lockout in '04. Now, with the NFL, I could see the kickoffs going back to the way they were, but they changed it because of injury concerns, and
right.
I get that. So yeah, it's only baseball where I'm kind of like hesitant to want to change anything, but then I'm like, it's fine. If they do, I'm not gonna not watch it anymore. I'm still gonna watch the game. So before I let you go, have you built any more Legos recently?
No, I have actually have the one I'm building right here. I'm still in the middle of building that
Oh,
car.
nice.
I have like the central body and the motor attached, so maybe I'll finish it today. I mean, I'm sitting at the island in my kitchen. Underneath this island is probably, I don't know, 20 or so unopened Lego sets. My fiance refers to it as my Lego store because I'll still want sets, but then I'm like, I'm not going to build it. I get busy watching the Yankees, which is,
Yeah.
of course, a mistake. They make me mad. I go back to building. It's just this cycle that I'm on.
Well,
So right now, I'm still building this RC car because I would really like to get into more like of the Technic sets and the motors and Lego and have Lego sets that move. That's something that's really interesting to me, but I don't really know. I've never built anything Lego without instructions.
oh yeah.
So I'm kind of hesitant and a little afraid, but
Oh
this
yeah.
is sort of like dipping my toe into that world by having a motor in a set, but it's still a set nonetheless.
Has this been is it more recent that you've been kind of back into Legos, or has it always been like a passion for you?
No, I didn't build my first Lego set until February of 2021.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
recent. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so like ever since then, yeah, I've just been building basically nonstop. I mean, we are going to start looking for a house in the next few months, so I had to slow down a little bit because
Yeah.
we're running out of space. I have shelves in a shelving unit that have a bunch of Lego sets. I had to pack a bunch of built Lego sets away. So I was considering like, oh, should I start this set? And it's like, well, maybe I should just wait till we move because they're kind
Yeah.
of a pain in the ass to move.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just the best hobby. I just love it so much. It's challenging, but it's not too challenging. I mean, it can be where I have to put sets down for a few weeks and step away from them because I'm getting so frustrated about a part. But it's just really awesome, and I just love it so much. It's something I could do for my whole life. And it's really nice actually. I do a lot of building during the postseason because I will stress build. I
Yeah.
built a whole Mario set during the ALCS. I literally finished it after they won that game 5. So it really pays its dues during October when I am such a nervous wreck. When I'm not pacing around my house, I am building a Lego set to ease the stress of the situation.
I can't remember what it's called. I know I built the Wrigley Field version of it a year or so ago, and I remember you were saying you didn't love those It's not Legos, but it's the same general idea. What
Oh,
is it
like
called?
the brickles or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I remember you were saying like you didn't love the way those are kind of constructed. And I agree because it was a pain, and
they're
it's the
tiny,
the
tiny pieces.
and like the instructions, at least the ones I had, some of the colors were so similar that I didn't realize I was using my freaking iPhone flashlight to be able to know the specific color so that I could like know if I was using the right piece or not. I swear, at least twice I think I was halfway done and then I just completely started over because not only because of the color, but also there was like a weird thing where it was like just this random opening and I'm like, shouldn't there be a piece here? It doesn't make any sense. And then I realized I'm like, you know what? I've done everything right. This is like the third time. I'm just gonna finish it. I'm like, I don't know why they do it on purpose to like leave this weird opening and like it's inside so you don't see it, but it just feels like I'm missing something. But I'm like, no, I think this is right. I'm just gonna be done with it. So once it's done, I'm like, I actually got this done. I can't believe it. But also, yeah, it was kind of a pain to do.
So one of the first Lego sets, and after I built my first set, the Saturn V rocket, because I'm a big Apollo space program nerd, I love the Saturn V rocket. So
Yeah,
I was so excited to have my own. That's what got me into Lego when I saw they had that. So a few sets later, my fiance and I, we built the Ecto 1, the car from Ghostbusters, together. And the way we did it was I built the odd bags, he built the even bags. So I won, he built bag two, so on and so forth.
yeah,
The last, and this is a 2,300 piece set. This is a beefy set. The last step, literally, is to put the tires on the car. If you put the tires on, I go to roll it. And now Lego is always right. Their pieces always fit well. So if you find yourself where, this piece doesn't really fit, that you did something wrong because everything, it fits perfectly in the set. So I go to roll the car. It doesn't roll forward because the back left tire on the driver's side is getting stopped by a little tiny peg of a brick, one peg brick that was turned 90 degrees in the wrong direction.
yeah.
And I'm like, fuck it. Let's just leave it. My fiance's like, no, we have to fix this. And I'm like going through the directions to try to find where that piece was built because obviously I wanted it to be something that he did, not that I did. So I'm
Right.
going through and trying to figure out also how to take it apart because it doesn't get built in like from front to back. They build it in strange orders. So you can build the back tire well, 1,000 pieces ago, even though the tire's the last thing to go on. I get back. It was in literally step bag 3 of the set. So 3 was an odd number. He's like, which step was it in? I was like, it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter who did it. But fortunately he was able to like pry it apart and turn the piece in the right direction. And so, yeah, that happens to me all the time actually, or I'll stare at the instructions because the colors are so similar and I
Yeah.
can't tell because it's not a 3-dimensional booklet, right? It's
Right.
just
Right.
2D on a piece of paper, but I'm
Yep.
building something 3D. I will literally just be staring at it for 15 minutes like, how is that piece? What direction is that piece in? So yeah, it's the nerdiest thing ever. And I'm sure people are fucking tuning this out
Oh,
right now, but it's really, really fun. It's frustrating in a fun way. I love when I mess up and I have to go back and figure it out. It makes it fun.
it can be unless you're just like, oh my god, I gotta do it all over. But sometimes I'm just like, I'd rather like because I'll try to go back a little bit and then I'm like, I'm lost. Let me just start all over. It's way
Yeah, you
easier.
have to just start. You have to take it apart and start from scratch. Yep.
Yeah, I forget if it's. I think I had to look it up. I think it's BRXLZ, whatever that. However you say that.
Yeah, like
I will
Brixel.
say Brixel. That's it. I will say this: customer service was great. They sent me at least 3 different backup pieces, either after I thought I lost them or broke something because I think I did break. Oh, I broke the thing that you used to pry off the wrong piece. That's what it was.
Uh,
If you get one of those things on there, you're not getting it off. It's like you have to use the little tool thing, and
yeah,
I
the brick
broke that.
separator.
So anyway, I lied. Very last question. Are you still doing the Breaking Balls podcast?
Well, we did an episode a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't done one since because I'm the one. Just so everyone knows, I'm the one who's holding up this situation, not John, not DJ Bingington. It's me. I will be like all into it, yeah, and then I'll be like, I'm just not really feeling it this week. Like I don't know, because you know how it is. Like
Yeah.
your headspace has to be in a certain place. Like be creative, and really, it takes a lot of effort. And anyone listening to this, if you've never recorded anything, it takes a lot of effort to do what Will is doing. It's a lot of work and it can be tough to get yourself in that space and stay in it. So I would love to get it started again, but who knows?
Yeah.
I always say that every show I'm on,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get it going, but we'll see.
Great Twitter follow. If you want to
Thank you.
share your at or whatever you want to name drop. Go ahead. People
Oh,
should
you
follow
can,
you though.
anyone listening, you can find me on Twitter at mshedoesit. And you can follow Breaking Balls too at Breakballs Pod. We have, almost 150 episodes worth of content. And even if it's old, I will say our episodes are really entertaining and they're really funny. So even if the baseball that we're talking about is, a year or two old, it still is a really entertaining listen. So if you like this show and you like this guest segment, you will definitely like my show as well. So give it a listen if you'd like. It's fun.
Yeah, great production value. That's what I'm always trying to emulate what other people are doing as far as how they make it sound or look. So obviously, really good stuff on your end.
Yeah,
Is
I can't
what
take
you've been
credit for that.
doing.
It's my fiance who does radio production
No,
professionally.
that's
So
sick.
I have that in house, and really lucky because it really makes all the difference in the world. Is a nice edited podcast. It makes it
Yeah.
easy to listen to. He throws in his own flair every now and then, so it's really good listen. Thank you.
Yeah, everything I've done is just like not guessing at this point, but just Googling and using ChatGPT now and whatever I can to just
That's
like
all. That's how you do it, right? That's how
yeah.
you learn.
Yeah, for sure.